The movie begins with a narration by Megamind, who tells us about Metro City, a city full of evil. Only Metro Man, a superhero strong enough to defend it, stood against the forces of darkness. But he was ultimately defeated by Megamind, a criminal genius and master of all things villainous. However, without a hero to fight, Megamind finds himself bored. To keep things interesting, he creates a new superhero called Titan, but this backfires and creates a huge mess. Eventually, Megamind realizes that his true destiny is to be a superhero, not a villain. He defeats Titan and becomes the new defender of Metro City. Back in the present day, we see three men disguised in fish costumes, the Go Fish Gang, breaking into Megamind's lair through the rooftop. They sneak inside the building to steal a diamond fish and sell it at the Blackfish Market. But Megamind, along with his assistant Chum, has been expecting them. He knows this is something the old villain version of him would have done. Megamind uses his tech to capture the gang, but it malfunctions and frees them again. While blaming Chum's incompetence, the gang escapes. Megamind chases after them, but they strike back using their fish tank. He was once a great villain, but as a hero, he's now seen as a loser. Frustrated, Megamind does something villainous. He throws a frozen shark inside their fish tank. The small amount of water he poured in unfreezes the shark, which then attacks the gang. Meanwhile, Roxanne Ritchie, a journalist who once helped Megamind save the city from Titan, is reporting on the city. She is approached by a kid named Kiko Morita, who notices that Roxanne has lost all interest in her job. She wants to make a bigger difference in the city, just like Megamind. Kiko, the president of Megamind's fan club, inspires her to go after what she truly wants. Kiko, who was just a middle schooler sitting in detention a few weeks ago, now has a streaming show with over 500,000 subscribers covering Megamind's ongoing heroic actions. Megamind is awarded the key to the city, which he casually tosses to Chum to take back to the lair. Roxanne meets Chum and asks about how his life as a sidekick is going. Sadly, he says nothing has changed for him. Megamind still sees him as just a minion who fixes brainbots and watches his socks. Inspired by Kiko's advice, Roxanne tells Chum to ask for what he really wants, a promotion to sidekick. Chum boldly confronts Megamind, though in an awkward way. Megamind dismisses the idea and tells Chum that he's just the guy who hangs out with a hero. Chum replies that if his efforts aren't valued, maybe it's time to explore other opportunities. To Chum's surprise, Megamind doesn't seem to care if he stays or leaves. Feeling unappreciated, Chum says goodbye and leaves to find his own purpose. Roxanne is unhappy with Megamind for letting Chum walk away so easily, but Megamind insists that Chum will return. He always does. He believes he can handle everything on his own. Suddenly, at the Metro City prison, an evil gang called the Doom Syndicate is having a meeting. The members are Lady Doppler, the evil witch of weather; Pierre Pressure, master of hypnotism; Behemoth, the burning rock; and Lord Nighty Night, formerly Fright Night, whose name change becomes the butt of their jokes. They discuss their former leader, Megamind, who is now a hero. They decide to pay him a visit, but first they must break out of prison. Each uses their powers to defeat the guards, and they escape. While Roxanne is driving, Megamind contacts her through a tracking device he gave her, claiming he's in danger. She rushes to his lair, expecting an emergency, but finds he's just struggling to operate a toaster.
She plugs it in and tells him how to use it, something he never learned because Chum usually does everything. Suddenly, the intruder alarm sounds. Megamind is horrified to see that it's his old gang. Fearing they came to kill him for betraying them and turning hero, he prepares for the worst. But to his surprise, they're there to celebrate him. They think his heroism is just an act to cover up a more sinister master plan. Playing along, Megamind pretends that pretending to be a hero is his plan. He even lies and says that Roxanne is his evil bride. Roxanne drags him to the kitchen and scolds him for not telling them the truth and for never telling her he was in the doomed syndicate. He explains that not only was he part of it, he founded it after graduating from villain school. He recruited the worst of the worst, but later, wanting the spotlight for himself, he found a way to ditch them. He lied to them, saying he was working on a top-secret evil plan and would signal them when the time came. They now think the time has come. Knowing that if he tells them the truth, they'll try to kill him, he convinces Roxanne to help keep up the act until he can figure out how to defeat them. Meanwhile, Chum is seen applying for a job at a restaurant. Despite listing all his impressive skills, he's hired as a toilet cleaner. But he doesn't give up. He suggests scrubbing the place clean, fixing the terrible food with an automated cooking design, and changing the menu to feature the one food everyone in the city loves, donuts. Back in Metro City, the doomed syndicate begins destroying the city. Megamind pretends to help, but secretly undoes their damage by deploying repair robots. Peer Pressure hypnotizes the police into arresting themselves. Megamind begins to miss Chum and realizes he can't do it all alone. As he lies awake, he hears a loud noise downstairs. The syndicate is throwing a party in his house, inviting all kinds of criminals, including the Go Fish gang, who know the truth about Megamind's heroism. 2 Go Fish members grab the microphone to expose him, while their leader goes to confront him. But Megamind lures the leader into a trap and captures him by turning him into ice, doing the same to the others. Meanwhile, at the restaurant, Chum realizes the place only has 2 customers. To help, he draws up a new business plan, automates the cooking process, and revamps the menu, all leading to success. Back at the lair, Roxanne warns Megamind that the syndicate will soon proceed with their most evil master plan. Ironically, a plan that Megamind himself created long ago. Since the gang sticks together, Megamind must figure out how to take them all down at once. The gang later shows up at Megamind's lair so they can begin Phase 2. But let's really understand what this Phase 2 plan is all about. Phase 2 is the ingenious plan Megamind once had to launch the city of Metro City to the moon. But how is that even possible? The genius Megamind has an explanation. Thanks to his physics calculations, an energy force field would entrap air and protect the populace from G-forces, while rockets built beneath the city would carry it into space and safely land it on the moon. Roxanne wonders how they'll possibly place rockets under the city. Even if it's possible, it should take years. Surprisingly, Megamind has already planted the rockets, and it only took him 6 months to accomplish. Megamind will have to launch the rocket since he created it. But remember, he's not a villain anymore. He's a hero. He lies to the crime syndicate that he's forgotten the password. That's when they begin to notice a change in him, because the evil genius Megamind they knew would never forget a password, especially one this short. They leave, warning Megamind to find a way to launch the city by the end of the day, or they will level it themselves. Megamind can't let them launch the city, and he can't let them destroy it. As a hero, he has to act fast. Roxanne tells him this isn't something he can do alone.
He will need her, and most especially, he will need Chum, his former assistant. You never know what you have until you lose it. Megamind realizes that he shouldn't have let Chum go. Chum has been by his side through both the bad and the good. He decides to find Chum and let him know he appreciates him, not as a minion, but as a friend. Chum has already turned the worst restaurant in the city into the best. Customers are lined up to buy donuts. Megamind shows up with Roxanne to apologize for how he treated Chum. When he finds his way into the restaurant, Chum introduces his old boss to his new boss. The new boss tells Megamind how Chum changed his life. Not only did he fully automate the kitchens, but he also came up with a secret recipe that made people obsessed with the donuts. Megamind sees that Chum is doing very well and realizes it might be too late to apologize.
He leaves, telling Chum to be happy. But Megamind decides he must do this by himself, even if it leads to his demise. And finally, he has a plan. He gathers the gang together for a picture, but traps them using one of his many robots. He reveals to them that he's actually a good guy and laughs, telling them that they'll soon be placed back in prison. Unfortunately for him, his mini-robot malfunctions again, and the gang breaks free. They attack and seemingly kill him. Meanwhile, Roxanne tracks down Megamind with the help of his #1 fan, Kiko. Yes, Megamind is not dead. They find him disguised with a beard, hiding from the crime syndicate. Megamind calls himself a failure, but Kiko tells him he isn't because he never failed her. When she first moved to Metro City with her mom, she was teased for being an outsider. People assumed she was a bad kid, and she started living up to their expectations, getting into fights and skipping classes. But when Megamind defeated Titan, he showed her that she didn't need to live by others' expectations. She just needed to live up to her own. Roxanne tells him that putting aside his pride and admitting he needs help is not a weakness. In doing that, he will find a true friend who will stand by his side no matter what. Megamind decides to find Chum to apologize. But Chum has been behind him all along. His work is finished with Mr. Donut, but his work is never finished with his old boss. Chum already sensed he was in danger, which is why he's here. And to his surprise, he hears something he's always wanted to hear from Megamind: sidekick. Meanwhile, the Doom Syndicate is trying to break into the launch control room. Since they don't have the password, it will take an hour to breach it. Team Megamind devises a plan to draw them away from the launch room using a distraction. Since they hate Megamind so much, if they see him, they'll stop trying to break in and chase him instead. He adds Kiko to the team and promises to train her to be a crime fighter just like him. The team goes to the Everything Mall to buy items to help them fight. It's said that anything you don't find at this mall is not actually a thing. Meanwhile, the crime syndicate finally breaches the launch room, but they argue over who should be the one to launch the city into space. Megamind appears on screen, and his plan is working. As they press the launch button, they abandon everything to chase Megamind. He had already sent Chum to infiltrate the building and deactivate the button, but the Go Fish gang stops him. Unfortunately, things don't go as planned. The city begins to launch into space, and panic spreads among the citizens, including the mayor. But Roxanne calms them down. Chum defeats the Go Fish gang and finally deactivates the launch button. The city begins to fall back to Earth, but at the speed it's falling, they will all die if nothing is done. Megamind and his team defeat the crime syndicate one by one and rush to help Chum safely land the city back on Earth. The movie ends as Roxanne gets elected mayor by the citizens. Thank you for watching, guys. If you love animation movies, please subscribe to this channel and keep watching. Bye.